I'm here. Hi, folks. Uh, Let me bring my friends on before I mess anything up. I just got done. I was filming all afternoon with a film crew here, and we just got done 5 minutes ago. So I'm a little behind. Let me bring for Freddie.
Hi,
Freddie,
everyone.
I'm gonna need a lot of help tonight, Freddie. Here's Michael. Here's John, and here's the kid, William. Where did William go? There he is. Okay, William's. Are you in a car or something in the
Yeah,
dark?
yeah, we're on our way back from Monticello right now.
All right. Well, we could just about see. If it wasn't for your teeth, we wouldn't be able to see you.
Is
There
that
you
better?
are.
That better?
There you
Yeah,
are.
yeah. That's better. Let me just finish what I was saying before, and then we'll get on to something different. It's like a big. I don't know how you feel about what I said, but it's a big family up there, and the drivers I've been there. Half of them train their own horses, so you're not going to get them. They all have a great relationship with the race secretary. You're not going to get no favors. Well, you just catch drive, and for somebody to take one of them guys off on a horse that could win, I don't know if that's going to happen. And if you have to travel a long way, my advice to you would be, because you're loaded with talent. You're young. You're the right size, the right weight. The right guts. The right you drive aggressive when it's called for. I watch these races, and you keep a horse going. I mean, I think in the first or second race, you come first over, and I thought you backed through the field by the 3/4 pole, but you just kept coming and coming. So you keep one alive, and you have all the good qualities. And it's just sad that they don't give you the shot that they should give you at when you go up to Monticello. I mean, they put you on enough horses, but sometimes you're better off. It's like going on a blind date with an ugly girl.
Hey, Larry, I'm going to jump in here. He's also racing at other tracks. He's not just racing at Monticello.
No, that's what I mean. I would go to the tracks where, I mean, when he said he had about 300 wins in 3 years, that's very, very impressive for a young kid. That's very impressive. And I'm saying that, in my opinion, if he raced in Monticello for them 3 years, he wouldn't have 30 wins. That's my not because he's not capable, because he wouldn't get the horses to drive. And it makes no difference how, it don't make any difference, because I have to tell you this, and I really believe it. If Billy O'Donnell or John Campbell or whoever you want to name was on the horses he was on today, I think the result he had would be better than the results they had. They'd be a little more careful.
You've just been paid one hell of a compliment, William.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Thank you.
The only thing that's a little scary to me is he likes. Well, but I've been out of it so long. I'm so used to just hanging on to one, even when they're done. But them lines were flapping in the breeze. Not only with you, with everybody else. But that's the way the game is today. But you're a very talented kid. I wish you a lot of luck, and don't take offense to what I said about Monticello, but it's a big family up there. They all were. Half of them kids were born and raised right on the backstretch there, and.
Oh, we raced against the older Merchant.
I raced against Bobby Merton, the father.
So did I. So
the two young kids were raised in the shed row in this dirt and the mud, and they were raised with, and they both drive pretty good. So you're not going to get no mounts away from them. You're not going to get the mounts away from the guys who train their own horses, who happen to be probably the leading drivers up there. I don't even know who the hell is up there, but
Bobby was in a terrible accident, which ended his career. You remember that?
I was the guy that run over him.
Yeah.
I ran over him when his horse went down. We were finishing the race. We were at the halfway down the stretch, and his horse, I think a hobble hanger broke, and the hobble fell below the knee, and he just, in 1, 2, 3, we're losing this kid. Okay. In 1, 2, 3, the horse went down, and what happened was, it happened naturally in a second, and Bobby's horse went down, Bobby's bike went up, Bobby's foot got caught in the right foot got caught in the stirrup. My horse ran right over him and crushed him, and we both wound up in the hospital, Monticello Hospital. And when I come to, he was laying next to me, and from the knee up, it was off. It was putting the other way. It was laying right next to him. The only thing that held it on was the skin. And I called up John Manzi, and at the racetrack, I asked the operator to bring me a phone, and I says, I told up John, I says, you got to get him out of here. His leg is off from the knee down. And they did. They flew him out of there, and he showed up about a month later. They wind up saving the leg, but it was as big as a crutch. It was very, very small. No muscle, no nothing. But they did attach it, but he could never drive anymore. And they gave him a bullshit job as the track man or the stall man or some, instead of really taking care of the guy, they just threw him to the wolves. Yeah. But anyway, that's I'm sure you all know the business. So
I'd like to jump in a little bit here if I can.
Go ahead, John.
I've been following this young man since early in his career, probably 4 years ago when he was 17 years old. And he's got 342 lifetime wins and over 2.7 million purse earnings, and he's won some big races. And when trainers like Tony Alumni and Clyde Francis kind of see what he's capable of and competes at some of the tracks, I don't care if it's in a qualifier or if it's just in an overnight race, people are going to notice, and they've noticed this gentleman, that's for sure. And I put him in a class with, you got Brett Beckwith and Braxton Boyd, of course, but you got Marvin Luna and Carson Conrad. What's he? 19 years old as well. Daryl Gates, Jeremy Bobbitt, Joey Putnam. These are the breadth of our business for the next 25 or 30 years, and we need them all because of all of the 3,900 trainer drivers, about 1.5% are under the age of 25, and that will not sustain our business. And Billy Carter is the one key that is going to help us sustain our business.
I agree.
Yeah.
William, if you keep winning, you're going to get drives. Don't worry about that.
Did you hear what Michael said, William?
No, what'd he say?
If you keep winning,
you're going to get drives.
The key word there is winning. So
I like that. I like that. I try my best.
Key word.
Well, Bill O'Donnell always says you're only as good as your last winner.
That's it.
And he's correct.
Yeah.
If I was you, I don't know where you live, William, but if I was you and Monticello was the long way, I would give it, don't just stop going there. I would give it a chance, but I think you're going to see after maybe 4 or 5 times going up there, if you're constantly on 90-to-1 shots, just don't go. It's going to bring your average down. Then nobody's going to be talking about you. So just go where you won the 300 races.
Well, he won 109 of them so far this year, and 342 lifetime. And I'll tell you, he's got some great hands. He's got some soft hands. And the great thing that I love about this gentleman is that he is very humble. And I think that's a great attribute to somebody who's going to be 21 tomorrow in 4 hours, going to be 21 years old.
Hey, William, and other than Monticello, where else are you racing? I know Ocean Downs.
Well, yeah, so Monticello, I just go up there on Thursday just to give me something to do. I don't really like sitting at home too much. But we're racing Ocean Downs Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but they dropped Tuesday, so I'm just at Ocean Downs. I drove at Chester last Friday, so I just places I pick up drives. But Monticello is just something to do on Thursdays.
Did you win a couple of pop-ups yesterday?
Yeah. I'm riding with Bryson right now, and we won 4 races last night, and one was a claimant series leg, and the other one was a pop-up consolation.
Pretty good purses, 12,000 and or 12.5 and 11.5 or something like that. But those are 2 races there. That was great.
Yeah. Thank you.
I also saw that you now have a bobblehead of yourself.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna happen, but I didn't see the picture until last night. And my mom sent me a picture that was on the website, so that's pretty cool.
Wow. Hey,
William,
incidentally,
I have
I
a
just
question for you.
want you guys to
Um,
know that's an honor for me to be on the same show as Larry Rolla, because in an era of Campbell and O'Donnell and the Red Man and Ted Wing and all those other guys, when it was considered if you won 15% of your races, that was really top notch. And, Larry was a 20%er for many of his years. So my hat's off to you. I remember those days from the late 70s and early 80s. And I tip of my hat to you, sir, for being a 20%er. Pretty rare.
Well, thank you very much. I had no idea of that. Whenever anybody asks me about that, I just say that I won the races I had to win, and I lost the races I had to lose. That's the best way for me to describe the history of my racing. I won the races I had to win.
That means you could have been a 40%er, right?
Uh, it could have been a whole lot better than what it was. I just got caught on the wrong side of the track for many years, and that's that. That in fact, that's what started this whole podcast. I started this podcast trying to promote the book that I had, but the book got picked up within a week of the book being out, and but I continued the podcast in honor of my partner at the time, Frankie Vincent, the actor, and now I just do it just to have fun. And as everybody could see, it's really not my gig. I screw up more than anything else, and sometimes I do a whole show without hitting live. So, but now I just have fun, and the best thing is it brought me back in touch with people I haven't seen in 50, 60 years. They just get in touch with me through this silly little podcast that I have here, and now we just kid around. And I mean, when we have Billy O'Donnell on, we talk for I think 3.5 hours, 3 hours, and the same thing with Joe Rico and a lot of other guys. Michael LaChance, I think we spoke with. Yeah, and we just we just reminisce and just have good time, just like we met, or we all met once a month for coffee. You just sit there and talk about old times, and that's what's good about it, because it kind of brightens up my day sometimes.
Hey, Billy, I want to ask you a question about driving and training, because I know you love driving, but you do a little bit of training and you've been successful at that. Which do you like better, driving or training?
Driving.
Driving.
By far, yeah.
Uh-huh. Wow. But you do train a little bit, and it takes a lot of patience to get some of those to the races.
Yeah. I was training a little bit, but now I've really been driving a lot, like, and traveling all over the place. So I just kind of took a step back.
You gonna go over to Shenandoah this year?
Yeah. I'll be there. I'll be there every day this year.
Nice racetrack, and they got cooperative people there too.
Yeah, it's the best. It's definitely the best place to race. My favorite place. The track's nice. The grandstand's packed. People at the track are nice, and it's just a great place to race.
Yeah, I think they got some amateur races there once in a while too, as well.
Yeah.
And there are some up and coming guys over there that are learning the trade and hope that they can follow in your footsteps, I am sure.
Yep, just one step at a time.
Oh, William, let me give you another piece of advice, because now that you're on the show, I feel like you're my son. So let me just say this. I know that you like driving a whole lot better than training. But let me just say this. There's going to be a time, and it's probably right now, that you're training for some pretty big names. And you should, instead of going to play golf, you should stick around with your father on the training end of it and learn a lot about hanging up a horse or rigging a horse, so you can come back. If a trainer says, how was he? You could say, well, I think maybe if you let his hobbles out, you should understand all of that, because it's great when a driver can come back, because you could train a horse all you want and go all the fast trips you want when as a trainer when you're rigging one up. but there's nothing like being in a race to find out if the hobbles really should be let out, or a head could be lower, or the head pole on a double ring or tighter. And it'd be great if you're the kind of guy that knows that. So not only being an excellent driver, but you could come back and say, listen, I think you might want to try lowering his head a bit, or put a head pole on or something. So don't just completely dismiss the training end of it, because 90% of the drivers today, maybe 100% of the top guys today, all were excellent trainers and all had big racing stables. And I know, because when I had to get out of the business in '84, I turned everything over to Billy O'Donnell and Teddy Wing. And I had a tough time trying to pick a trainer because they were all excellent. So I know that you just want to stick to training, and maybe, but stick around the barn and learn shoeing, and learn. Even though the shoeing today don't mean nothing, I really believe today you could take all four shoes off any horse, and they'd be okay. And probably the hobbles too, because of the way I watched the races today, I was frightened. If the lines were flapping all over the place on every horse, and you guys got to have a lot. But you know what it is? I don't want to say what I was going to say, but many times, and I'm sure Freddie could tell you this, that if the lines were dangling like that, many horses in races we actually picked up from taking nosedives by just having a good hold on the horse. I don't mean
I've had a couple if their noses land on the ground and bounce back up. So.
Yeah, but these things, it was scaring me. I was watching all the replays this afternoon of your first 5 races, and you kept that one going. I thought you were going to back through the field, but I was. It was not only you; it's everybody. It's every driver, and I have to give that credit to it has to be the improvement of the breed, that they just pace now. They don't need. I don't think. I don't even. I think the last time I saw a horse with 3/4 inch leather hobbles was 40 years ago. Where now they're the lightest plastic you could use, and they're probably all 60 inches. Where before they were 3/4 inch leather hobbles, 53 inches, 54 inches, even with the biggest horse. And you needed it to keep them pacing. But today it's a whole different story.
Hey, the last time I saw a stopwatch was 40 years ago with a driver trying to get to 3/8 in 47 seconds instead of getting to the 3/8 in 38 seconds like they do today.
Yeah.
I love those early days. I'll tell you something. Those guys, they had clocks in their head. They had stopwatches in their head.
Well, that'll come. Even with William, that'll come after a while. It's just like driving a car. After 4, 5, 6 years, you're on the turnpike. You're going between 60 and 65 without looking at it comes to you. It's just a natural thing, and that's what he has. I noticed that he rated a horse great. There was one thing that you did that was kind of interesting to me. In one race, I can't think of the race because see, William, I'm old and my mind is shot and I forget a lot. But there was one race that you drove where you from the right after the half, you went that third quarter quick, even though nobody was coming. Normally you just keep backing up at that point until somebody comes, but nobody was coming. But just I would have to imagine in my head he's doing this because he's stopping them from coming, and he's just opening up lengths, and they're going to get tired just trying to keep up. And then it worked pretty well for you. You got beat in that race. You finished second, but you gave it a good shot, and I think the favorite beat you.
Yeah. That mare, she's been really not finishing. She really didn't even belong on the front, but I ended up on the front. So I was trying to just kind of get away and see if I could keep getting away and kind of try to bottom them out almost. And she was actually paces. She raced really better than she has, but she shouldn't have been on the front. I should have raced her off the pace. So but I tried to open up and try to kind of just give him the slip down the backside and try to get away in case, because I didn't have much confidence she was going to finish well. So if I would have waited and sprinted, I don't think she would have had much coming home anyway.
Well, you did a good job. You kept her alive. You kept them all alive. Good. There was only one I saw. You had no chance, and you just sat back on the rail. I forget which race it was, but when you recognized when one was all done, you didn't abuse them, and you woke up the ones that needed to be wakened. You did a good job. Very, very, very talented. But just don't forget that. Pay attention to the rigging and everything else, and don't be afraid to tell a trainer if you think something could really help a horse. But don't say that unless you know. Don't guess and just to say it. That's why I say pay attention to your father at the barn about the rigging and not too years ago we used to be a lot about shoeing, but not too much today. Today they just drew 4 running horse plates on them. They're all probably all aluminum now. And back then, the difference between 40 degrees and 50 degrees meant either pacing or making a break. Today, it probably means nothing. So,
I think that
Larry, trotters with half rounds and toe weights.
yeah.
I think has been in the sulky since he was 3 years old, and a lot of this advice that we're all giving him, I think he already knows with 20 years experience on his dad's lap. So,
William, how many horses are you training personally right now?
Right now, I don't have any. I just help my dad out.
Okay.
When I can. He has, I would say, 15. 16, something in that area.
Okay.
And I try to go and help him train when I jog and stuff when I can.
Look who's here, Billy. Bill.
Billy, we've been trashing you for like the last 20 minutes.
Oh,
William, I'd like to ask you a question from our audience, and I'd be real interested in the answer. Of all the top drivers, give us 3 or 4 that you think you're trying to emulate, and why you think those are the top guys.
well, the two I can think of is Tetrick and Dexter, because all the kids won't be like Dexter, and Tetrick because ever since I was young, I grew up near Chester, and every time I would always go to Chester, and Tetrick would be winning all the races, so he was always my favorite driver besides my dad, so I would always want to be like him.
Well, Timmy is kind of like you as far as Timmy probably had one of the few drivers that had extraordinary success when he was young. But I'd be real curious to ask you, what are the traits Dunn possesses that you admire the most?
Can you repeat that? I really didn't hear it.
Sure. What are the traits Dexter Dunn has as a driver that you admire the most?
Just how he can handle a horse and how soft hand he is, and he never abuses a horse too much, and he really doesn't even ever have to use the whip, and they just go.
Thank you.
there are 100 drivers. Look at Dave Miller, bike for so many years, and he's adapted from the old days to new days and stuff like that. Every race is different, and you just have to kind of gauge the situation as it occurs, 1/5 of a second at a time.
Billy, I have to say this because the noise is so bad, and I don't know. I'm sure everybody hears what I hear.
Yeah.
You're having the same problem you had last time, Billy. I don't know what it is, but noise, and you hear like every. Does everybody else hear, or is it just me?
No, I hear.
I hear it. Yeah, I hear it.
And now,
Maybe just mute him.
just mute him? How the hell do you mute him?
I think he has to. I think he has to mute himself.
Well, that's your father, William. So you tell him. I don't want to tell him.
Yeah, mute yourself.
I don't know how to do it, son.
You press the little microphone button at the bottom.
You hear it, right,
There you
William?
go. Yeah, there it go. He muted himself.
Now, Billy, you can hear us. We can't hear you, and the sound is gone.
The sound is gone. All right, I tell you, Michael, the question that you asked him, I watched that. I've been out of the game now 30 years, but I watched a couple of these young drivers ever since we've been doing this podcast, and they're all very, 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 very impressive. All of them. It's so hard to separate them. And if somebody was to ask like that, the question you just asked William, I wouldn't know what to say because they so they're all just excellent, and a lot of guts, a lot of talent, and I really believe now that naturally everybody has their favorites, but I really believe if just like when Walter Case came to Monticello, if they just drew for drivers, and Walter Case was on a 7-1 shot, he finished like a 7-1 shot. And against all capable drivers like himself, and that's what I believe. And I believe that William, driving in the people with the guys that he idolizes, aside from learning a lot, meaning that many times that he's behind certain moves, and I'm sure that he knows where every horse is at every position, that he would wind up learning a lot just by watching these guys, but he's just as capable. And I would have no problem
I'm not sure what you're talking about, but
I would have no problem if I was a betting guy, if William was on the best horse in my figures in a race, and I wouldn't care who the other driver or any of them, that I'd be on William, because in my mind, he's if he has the better horse, I would still bet on him. So that's I purposely watched these races today just to see how he acts, in the bike, how he sits in the bike, how the moves that he makes, why he makes them, when he makes them, the fractions, everything, and that shows. If I really didn't believe that, I wouldn't say it. I would just sit back and let everybody else, tell you how good you are. But I'm telling you, and that's a lot. Otherwise, I wouldn't say nothing.
Hey, I sent you some pictures put a couple of the pictures up, Larry.
There's one. Is that your mom, William?
No, that's just a lady in Virginia.
Okay.
That's not my mom. No.
All right. And I guess this is old because, let's see, this was something I found on the drove 170 winners during 2024, 34, 263 lifetime as a trainer. Wow. That's very good. Very impressive. And there you are, just like a little boy, a little kid. Oh, boy, William Carter.
And that picture's been from 17. Right? Well, that's still I have my qualifying license.
How many?
What are your plans when Ocean Downs closes?
When Ocean Downs closes, I'll race at Rosecroft and Virginia.
Okay. Could you tell everybody the little quirks? What's the difference between driving at Ocean and driving at Rosecroft?
Well, Rosecroft is a bigger track, so you gotta be more patient when on a half mile, especially Ocean Downs is all go, go, go. You gotta pull the right line, you gotta be out, you gotta be aggressive. With Rosecroft, you got more time to just relax and chill and try to race late. When Ocean Downs, it feels like more of the time you're racing early to get good position for the last turn.
Thank you.
That seems the way it was in Monticello today. Every winner left, and every winner was on a front end, and the horses that took back had no shot. And it's so that's why I stick by what I said. It's just tough. With the outside, 6, 7, and 8, or even 5. If you don't leave, you're a dead man. You got no chance. The favorites are always less than even money, and they're always in front. They leave the gate, and whoever's on top lets them go right away. Nobody ever retakes, or if they do retake, they're in the 2-hole. The rail opens up down the stretch, and here they come. And that's why I say that's one big happy family with no ship-ins. So
I've got a question for everyone, and I'll probably want to start with Freddie. Right now, of the tracks that are operating, the median percentage of winning favorites in harness racing in the United States is about 47.5.
Right.
Now, everyone knows that is a suicidal path if this sport's going to continue. So why is the percentage of favorites so astronomically high in harness racing today?
With me, my thought, I'd start with the racing office, and I'd start writing some new conditions to eliminate that problem. I'd start trying to get some competitive fields out there and start changing the condition sheets at all tracks. It's ridiculous that we have 3 to 5 favorites out there winning all the time, and we should be having some long shots coming in. So,
John?
hey, William, you brought a long shot in today.
I've written a lot of columns on this over the last few months, and what happens is speed, and everybody loves speed. They think it's the cure all, but
everybody loves speed except bettors.
It shortens fields, and it shortens careers. And bettors don't give a crap about what a horse goes in 150. If they don't cash the ticket, they're out of there. That's all they care about.
William?
I think a lot of it has to do with the race office and writing in short favorites and stuff like that. But I really don't know. It's just a debate that really it's really like a never ending debate, I think.
For someone as young as you, just to educate you a little bit, I mean, if you go back to the 70s, the heyday of the sport, probably the low 30s was the median. And there were many tracks that operated in the 20s and the high 20s of winning favorites. So it's been a huge increase in the percentage of winning favorites, which leads to a huge decrease in what horses pay and what exotics pay. Larry?
My answer would be all of the above, what everybody said, plus probably the best answer I would give, aside from what everybody else said, is that I believe, and I have no idea what I'm saying, but I would bet that the cheaper the track, the higher the percentage of favorites that win, because you can keep a claimer in the same price for 6 wins in a row because nobody has the money to claim them. So you could rate where at the Meadowlands or Yonkers, you win a 20,000 claimer more than once, he's getting claimed. At Monticello, you could win 5 in a row with a 20 claimer. Nobody up there got 20,000. So
it doesn't seem to matter. It's from 41. Actually, William is at the track that's got the biggest percentage of winning favorites, Ocean Downs. It's around 54.
Wow.
William, you got to get all the favorites now to drive.
I
think Meadowlands, Plain Ridge are around 41, but there's a lot of big tracks. Woodbine's pushing around 46. Hoosiers at 47. I mean, Hoosier, at least on paper, looks like competitive racing, but that's an incredibly high number. So I don't know if any of you watched the card at Pocono Saturday, but they had an excellent card Saturday with 12 stake races for 3-year-olds. And the track was inhumanely inside. Freddie and I talked about it with Gordon on the show. And if you came on the outside, you had literally no chance. This is probably one of the better cards presented in the United States during the course of the year. And if you were parked on the outside, zero chance. So, which led to I think the pick 4, pick 5 might have paid $4. So you're never going to stimulate bettors this way. And if you can't stimulate the bettors, I don't really see how this is going to work. We have to try and make this better.
Can I say something?
Of course.
All right. Well, here's my opinion on the whole thing is, well, the problem is with all these favorites and there's too many friends on the racetrack. So what's going on is every time you're 3 to 5 or you're 2 to 5, 1 to 5, whatever, if you're the favorite, you leave out of there and right away someone thinks they have to let you go. Now, the older days, like back then when I was a kid at Brandywine and Liberty Bell and Garden State, those drivers didn't give holes like they do today. They battled. Like, listen, I don't care if you're 1 to 5 or 2 to 5 or 50 to 1. If I want to be on the front, I'm going to be on the front. If that means you're 1 to 5 and I feel like parking you today, I'm going to park you today. That's the way it is. But nowadays, after the race, the drivers come off, oh, what, you don't know how to read a program and this and that and this and that. I'll give you an example. A couple weeks ago, I raced a filly of ours at Chester. And I think she belonged, but there were tough horses there, but I still wanted to see what I had. So I leave with her, and Tetrick's on a favorite, but he stings me real hard, like 26-2 for 3-year-old fillies that are 9-1-3. So he ended up getting beat. He finished second. So I said, and he said he got smart with me after the race. I said, Timmy, listen, if I was one of your buddies, like Andy McCarthy or one of your friends, you would have let me go in 29. You came back and win the race. Instead, you want to sting me in 26-2. And then when you made your move, you had to go to the half in 55 or 54 instead of 59 or 58 or whatever. And you got yourself beat. So I think a lot of it has to do with there's a lot of favoritism on the track. Too many holes are being given. And just because you're 1 to 5 or 2 to 5 don't always mean you're the best horse. So if you think you got a shot with your horse, and especially on a half-mile racetrack, if I get to the top, I'm not cutting you loose. What did Walter Case do? Why did he win so many races? Because he played hardball. When he got to the front, he wasn't letting anybody go. And not only that, nobody could keep one alive like Walter.
And once they know that you won't let them go, they don't come at you.
They don't come at you, and that's what I try to explain to my son. Sometimes he gives them his friends or whatever, his acquaintances, whatever, his driving buddies, he lets them go. But then every time I turn around, it's the same routine. They go, they go, they go. He sits, he sits, he sits. So when he wants to go, they want to sting him a little harder. Somebody comes at him earlier. So what you need to do, like the great drivers, they got a killer instinct. So I'll let you go today, and I'm coming back. But if not, you're parked. So after you teach them to stop leaving so much, then they'll know when William Carter's on the front, I'm grabbing up.
Hey, well, Billy, I got to ask you, and I want the others to respond.
Yeah, just let me say one thing, and that is hats off to young birthday boy, Mr. Carter, who took a 16-1 shot and beat a 1-20 shot today. 1 to 9 on the tote board, but he was a nickel to $1, and he got by him. Congratulations. You
had to make a break to keep him from falling down.
I don't think.
Billy, I got to ask you. There were friends on the racetrack 40 years ago, right? What's the difference? Could you educate us?
Who is that question at?
First for Billy, and then for Larry and Freddie and John.
Repeat the question. I didn't hear it.
Well, Billy says there are too many friends on the racetrack, and that's why the percentage of winning favorites is sky high because you got friends on the racetrack giving holes. I mean, the people 40 years ago had friends on the racetrack too. Could you educate us on what the difference is?
All right, let me give you my opinion.
Sure.
40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, when I first started, everybody trained their own horses. Every race that you were in, you might be in with some of the same drivers, but not many of the same drivers. They probably were 100 drivers driving at Yonkers and Roosevelt back then. They all had their own stables. So you weren't always in the same race with the same guys. Today, They're all kids drivers. Every race you're in, including the $1 million races and even the overnights, you're in with the same guys all the time. Michael LaChance is the only one that said what Billy said before about Case. When Michael's on the racetrack, it's no professional courtesy, because I purposely asked him that question. And Michael says no professional courtesy when I'm out there. But I have to say that when the same drivers are in the same race, every race, 10 races a night, every year, year after year and week after week, there has to be a certain amount of professional courtesy that's given, and it is given. And that's why you see, and the only way to get around that, sometimes when you get a guy like, say Billy has a horse racing at the Meadowlands. Now, the 9 other drivers, they're all driving together. They, what Billy says is true. They give, if they give you a hole, they give you, every race is not, sometimes a guy leaves out of there and he shouldn't have left out of there. And whenever that happens, even though they race every race together, if you don't belong in a race, and you just leave out of there because you got post 10, but you're 90-1, you leave out of there hoping you get a check, you ain't getting a hole. But if you have a legitimate shot, most of the time you're going to get a hole, and it's going to be repaid maybe the next race or the other race. But if a guy like Billy, who rarely races at the Meadowlands, and he leaves with a legitimate horse from the outside, and there's somebody's in front, and he, instead of letting him go and coming right back, knowing that horse he has a legitimate shot to win, instead of letting him go early and taking him down to the quarter in 26 seconds, what you should have did when you realized, and this is what I would do, and this is what I did, realize early on that he's not letting you go, and there's no 2-hole, and he's not letting you go for no other reason. There's not 3 behind you. There's not 2 behind you. You're out there all by yourself. Let go and come right back again, because the horse that's out there has a legitimate shot. Just jam him. Just put the wheel right there. Put the wheel right between his legs. He'll start yelling and screaming and let you go. And then he'll curse you after the race and say, okay, now you got a 2-hole trip. Fuck him. You want to be a jerk off? I'm going to treat you like a jerk off. And that's the way you do it. That's just my opinion. That's my opinion. Because when you come at a new racetrack and you have a legitimate shot with a horse, and you're driving, say, at the Meadowlands, where the same guys are in the race every single day, and there is a professional courtesy out there that's extended, because the next race is the same exact guys. And this next race, the same exact guys. So there is a professional courtesy. Then the stranger comes in with a legitimate chance, and you want to take him to the quarter in 26 seconds with nobody. Now, I could see if there was a horse behind him where he has to let 2 go, and now he's in the 3-hole, then fuck you, you're staying out there. But if there's only 1 out there, just jam him right up. And now there's no hub rail, so just jam him, and then he'll either go inside the pylons, or let you go. I don't know why they do that, and I don't know why teachers do that.
Well, anyway. I got a program from 1975 in front of me and I can tell you what the difference is. Ready? Joe Marsh Jr., Jim Tallman, Hervé Filion, Roger Hammer, Norman DePlaze, George Phelan, Russell Rash, Bobby Vetrano, Ben Webster, Del Insco, Frank Popfinger. Pretty great horsemen, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
All of them were, yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
And the racing was great over there.
Yeah. So, but then again, that was 1975. All of them guys, like unlike today, what we're talking about is they weren't in all the same races. Maybe Russell Rash would be in 1 or 2 races a night. So it wasn't like it was today, just to fill in a little bit on what Billy was saying. And what Tetrick did, it just wasn't very nice. If you were out there all by yourself, there's no reason why he had to go to the court. And then after the race, have something to say. You just should have punched him in the mouth. That works sometimes.
I can't race a lot of places because I don't put up with nobody's shit. I'm just saying I don't after the race, you either go the other way, especially when you know you're wrong. When you're wrong, leave me alone. Like, just stop.
Well, Billy, what you should have said is, instead of explaining to him what he already knows, that if you would have let me go, you could have got there in 29 seconds. Instead of explaining all of that to him, say, why don't you go fuck yourself? And if you do it the next time, then you'll learn not to do it, because there was no reason for that. Now, just one question for you, Billy. Were you out there alone, or was there a couple behind you?
No, it was just the two of us. Like, he got to the top.
Well, then he's a jerk. Let you go.
See, I was on my own horse. So, see, that's another thing those guys do. He got all them horses with Triple D stables and all those guys. And not only that, with some of these drivers and these racetracks, also is, like you were saying, how they 10 different races, all the drivers driving the same race, especially Rose, Croft, Oceanals, and even my son included. All they do is rotate horses. So that one tells him about this one. That one tells him about this one. Oh, you better watch that one. Oh, well, I'll get to the front. I'll let you go. And then, but they all rotate horses. So Russell Foster, Jonathan Ali, Roberts, my son, and all the rest, Eric Davis, all the rest of those guys, they all take turns driving these same horses.
Well, look, just take my advice, Billy. If it happens again with the same guy, just put a wheel under him, and then he'll say, "What are you, fucking crazy?" And then just look back and say, "Yes," and then just keep going. That's all.
Well, can you imagine, Larry? Just by that little incident, he don't talk to me for like a month or two.
You're better off. And I know he's probably a real nice guy and everything, but sometimes you get a fucking attitude out there, and sometimes there is absolute. Can anybody here on the panel name one reason why that should have happened the way it did? One reason why he shouldn't have let you go and come right back again. Anybody. If you're out there by yourself and you reach him, it's not that you were settled in and then come back and rush to retake. You left from an outside position. It was single file except for you. At the eighth pole, you reached him, and he took you to the quarter, the next eighth, in like 13 seconds. There's no reason for that. And the horse in the two hole, I'm sure, was right on the guy's helmet. He knew you couldn't get in the two hole, so fuck him. And if he did let you go, maybe with my attitude, if he when he finally did let you go to retake, I would have took him the rest of the way and say, now fuck you. Now maybe
that's what it was. He knew I wasn't stopping, and I was on my own horse. So
right.
I mean,
Billy, if you would have been driving a top stable horse, that never would have happened.
Yeah, I know, but I've been out there long enough. I've been in this business like 30-something years. I know everybody at every single track, and most of the time there's a lot of respect and especially when you're on your own horse. That's what they also say. Oh, this is my own horse, and they help you eat. But it is what it is. You just turn the page and get them next week.
Hey, Freddie, what's the odds of getting T-Trick on the show?
I have a question for the older guys. The question for the older guys is, do you think there was more hardball 40 years ago because the drivers were getting 10% instead of 5%?
Oh, they were getting 10% because they would drive.
Because they train their horses. But you got to remember, that's sort of a little bit of a myth there, because there were many, many guys that were just catch driving. When you go back and you look in the programs, you're going to see a lot of catch drivers and guys not driving horses from their own stable.
Everybody, you had a lot of trader drivers that are driving for 10%, correct? In the 70s?
Yes.
But if my dad went into race back then, he'd have one horse in from his stable and he had 4 catch drives. And the same thing with Vinsco. He'd have 3 horses from his stable and 4 catch drives. Mm-hmm. It wasn't there were a lot of catch drivers back then. So
they can thank Lucien Fontaine for their for getting their checks even today.
Oh yeah, 100%. If people don't know that, Lucian basically fought that the 5% would be paid by the racetracks. But previously, when I was racing, Larry, when you were racing, we had to bill the owners to get our 5 and 10%, and half of them never paid.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, in 1982, the percentage of favorites at Roosevelt Raceway was 39.0%.
Yeah, that was Roosevelt.
Yeah.
I think if you go to the Sportsman's and the Meadowlands, it's somewhere in the low 30s, and some years the high 20s.
Yep. That was my hometown, Chicago, so I know all those Sportsman's guys. There was some driving colony there too.
Yep.
Did we lose?
Hey, Larry, can you throw up the Chance commercial?
Absolutely.
We're putting the Chance tribute together, and I still need some more sponsors. So, the Harness Racing Alumni is currently producing a tribute video to Mike LaChance. Mike LaChance is one of our sport's greatest drivers of all time, a winner of over 10,253 races, with career earnings exceeding $180 million. He is a winner of 4 Hamiltonians, 3 North America Cups, 27 Breeder Crowns, a winner of the 1987 Payson Triple Crowns, inducted into both the U.S. and Canadian Harness Racing Hall of Fames. To become a sponsor of the tribute to Mike LaChance, please visit www.ustrots.com.
Watching.
Okay.
Me and Freddie came to we had a discussion one day months back, and we both decided that all the guys that are living that are in the Hall of Fame, we should recognize them, because like Billy O'Donnell, they just, nobody talks about them no more, especially with all these young kids coming up, and let's pay tribute to them. The only thing, I didn't want Freddie to do it for nothing, like he's been going to Washington for 10 years fighting for harness racing. So I says, look, just do something like this. Everybody go to this.
The Harness Racing Alumni is currently producing a tribute video.
And they could, when you get to that website, you could contribute $10, $20, $30, whatever you can afford without hurting yourself, because Freddie should not be doing this for nothing. Now, last time we did it for Carmine, a lot of people contribute, and everybody who contributes will be recognized and named, not the amount, but just the person in the documentary. So, because it's my idea, please do it, so I don't look like an asshole. So that's it. Billy, we lost your son. Are you still there, William? I think you turned the light off.
I see his nose.
We got back to the farm and the service is bad.
Okay, well, it is what it is.
Hey, William, are you picking up any stakes engagements in Maryland? Maryland Fire Stakes?
Right now, I don't have any 2-year-olds. I don't have any 2-year-olds right now, but I won a sire stake last month.
Okay.
3-year-old.
He must be up in the mountains there, where there's no the internet.
I have a
That one was just a catch. Odds came out.
William, can you hear me? This is Freddie. Can you hear me?
No,
I guess not.
He'll be off for a second. They just got back from Monticello, and they're pulling into Simon's farm where Bryson is, and then he'll be in his car and he'll be able to hear you.
Well, Billy, maybe you can answer this question for me. I've been watching a lot of the races, and what I've noticed is I was watching. They did Wally Hennessy did a race where they were showing him, and I'm watching him score the horse down, and all he's doing is taking the handholds back, And he did this the whole time, scoring the horse out. He's taking the handholds back, taking the handholds back. He must have done this like 15 times, moving the handholds back about 1 inch, 2 inches every time. And he raced the horse with his hands in front of the handholds on the, what do you call them, the buckles. And that was the way he raced the horse the whole mile. His hands were never in the handholds. Is that a standard practice now?
I think. I mean, all those guys do it. Like Dexter and Yannick and Timmy and all those guys. Yeah, they all. I mean, even my son, I watch him. His handholds are back, but also they're all using those UFO bikes, and the UFO bikes. I can't particularly drive in because I got a bad back. So it gives you like some extra aerodynamics. Like, so it you get a lot of lean. So with that being said, that's why they got their handholds back so far.
No, I wasn't talking about the handholds being back. I'm talking about them not having their hands in the handholds. Their hands are now above the handholds, and they're using the buckles to basically hold the horse rather than have their hands in the handholds.
Well, maybe that they got more control like that. But I watch it all the time. You're right. And even like when I'm jogging horses, and the one girl that helps me, she's a riding horse girl. She never jogs horses with handholds, and I'm like always on the buckles just because she's an English rider, and I'm always like, one of these times, one of these horses might get away from you. I said, but if you feel comfortable that way, that's fine. But personally, me, I can't. I mean, I just can't. I feel comfortable with my hands in the handholds. Like, forget the buckles. I mean, sometimes you can have the hands on the buckles if you're scoring one down and he's a little bit hot. And maybe your handhold is back a little too far before you can make an adjustment. Maybe you put your left hand on the buckle or something like that. But all these guys nowadays, I don't know if it's for like fashion statement, or I don't know if it's because of the way those bikes are, and I don't know, but a lot of guys do it.
Knowing the little bit I know about it, I believe the reason they do it is because I think the new rule is that you have to have your hand, you can't put the two lines in one hand across. So they keep the handholds all the way back so they can lean back for less resistance. They can put their hands in the handholds at the head of the stretch and lean back, have their hands in the handholds, and still whip at the hand. And so they're whipping.
Well, Larry, what I'm talking about, his hands were never in the handholds the whole race.
Oh, I know, but
they were in front of them.
No, I know, but at the beginning of the race, you got to grab a hold of the horse to take him back. And if
he never put his hands in the handholds.
Well, if you have your hands in the handholds, you can't take them back because you'll be too far back. So you have to keep your hands up more and by the buckles, right, so you can grab a horse to take him off.
You got some control over him up there.
Yeah, but then once you hit the head of the stretch, you don't need the control anymore with these horses today. And you just lean straight back, you're horizontal to the ground, your hands are in the handholds, and you're whipping, so you obey all the rules. So far, William's not back. Oh, wait, maybe.
Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, yeah, I'm in New Jersey and the service sucks.
We hear you, but we don't see you, William.
Larry, did you ever have a runaway?
Did I ever have a runaway?
Yeah.
No, because I was able to. No, the answer is no.
Billy, did you ever have a runaway?
Absolutely. I bought a horse off of Chris Ryder. His name was Ufizzy. You guys all probably heard of him. He was a fast American Ideal, big, strong, 49 pacing horse. And when you got him revved up, he would lock on the left line so bad that you could not steer him, you could not stop him. It's a scary feeling. And one day I was down in Virginia and it was raining that day, and he got locked on the line so bad. I mean, I literally had both of my hands on the left line, and he still took me into the fence and snapped the race bike right in half. But I can tell you what I didn't do. I never let him go.
I had one runaway in my life, and it happened over at the Meadowlands. I had a groom that he basically the groom weighed like 300 and some odd pounds and was like 7 feet tall. And as I'm getting on the horse, he says, "Freddie, he got away with me yesterday. I couldn't hold him." Here, my statement to him was, I said, "Well, I never had one get away with me before. I don't plan on it happening today." Well, when I got out on the track, they had these new type of lines at that point where they're like plastic, but they're like rubber, and the handholds were up there, and the handholds just kept on sliding back. So the handholds are now all the way to my belly, and so I'm putting my hands up, and my hands are sliding back. I tried looping the lines in my hands. I just watched the loops come back. I'm trying to seesaw him off the bit. The son of a bitch knows he got me. And I'm looking for. I got the water trucks blocking one exit, the tractors blocking the other exit. I went by Eddie Cobb, and Eddie Cobb, he yells at me, "I think he got you, Freddie." And I'm like, "Yeah, fuck you, Eddie." So I decided that I would just head him towards the fence. I was taught that they're smart enough not to go through it, that they'd stop. Well, about 3 seconds before we hit that fence, I watched this horse's body just tighten up. We hit that fence. We went right through it. And on the other side of it, the gully that at the Meadowlands just went right down. I went up in the air about 20 feet. The only thing that kept me from going up higher was the lines. I was in a jog cart. And I'm looking down at this horse's ears. And I said, "You're on your own." And I just let go, and I came back down. I hit the back of the seat, hit the ground, and I watched this son of a bitch running down the road with a busted jog cart, both shafts busted, dragging the wheels. That was my experience with a runaway.
The reason I never had a runaway was because I didn't get many catch drives, and whatever horse I had out there was rigged properly, so I wouldn't have to worry about a runaway. Second, if I ever did have a runaway, if I ever did get on a horse that was just like a loose cannon, I would just grab one line and twist him around, and one or two things. He'd either turn the bike upside down, just go around in circles, but I would probably just let him run out. Just put him in the middle of the track. Run.
Yeah, but I couldn't do that at that time. There were over 100 horses on the track.
Well, do a lot of weaving.
That wasn't going to work.
All right. While we're talking, I'm going through some of these things. Let me answer some of these questions in between, because some of them are for Michael and some of them are for everybody else. So the first one here is, let's see. The first one here is question. You guys in the process of putting together a racehorse package soon? Well, that's Freddie. I don't know what Freddie's intentions are, but right now he's paying attention to that, and I don't know, but we're going to talk about that, me and Freddie, unless Freddie wants to say something now about it. But we mentioned it, got a little response to it, but never followed up on it.
We have to bring the serious people in to talk. So at this particular point, and we haven't done that.
Okay, let's go to this. David Arthur, what a great panel tonight. Great job, man. Well, thank you. Okay, Howard Lieberman. Michael, thank you for the kind words last week. I'm fighting a battle. All of Larry's friends have been supportive. Can't thank you all enough. Well, we wish you a lot of luck. Howard's going through a tough time with cancer. He got results the other day that were not good. And he's going to keep us informed anyway, because he's going to try something else. So hopefully.
Positive thoughts, Howard. We're thinking about you.
Yeah. Sundance
Absolutely.
says, my Sundance's prayers are with you. Okay. And let's see. Sheldon says, happy birthday, Billy. We both have the same birthday, only I'm 57. Now that's for William, right?
Yes.
That's for it is. Let's see. Well, we still don't have William yet. I guess he has no siblings. I don't know. Anyway, Sheldon G has the same birthday as William. Okay. Gary, let's see what he says. Gary, he would fit in Northfield Park really well. They have 15 race card, 3-4 days weekly, good purses. I guess we're talking about William. I wish William was here to hear that. I don't know if he's. I don't know if he can hear it or not. Okay. Jeffrey B says this Carter kid brought home some nice prices yesterday at Monticello. Keep an eye on this kid. Oh, we're watching. We're watching. Okay. Angelique. Hello, Larry, Freddie, Michael, William, and John. Hello. Maybe in 5 years right now, I have to stay in 5 boroughs until, okay, he's answering somebody's question.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see, Eric. Oh, here's Eric. He wasn't on the other day. Question for Michael. Meadowland should be ashamed honoring Brett Beckwith as leading driver as he had no drives on Hambo Day. I'd bet my life that never happened before.
I don't know why they should be ashamed. I mean, a lot of the drivers don't drive there in the winter. So when you take the entire 7 months, Beckwith had a substantial amount of drives. And I don't see why they should be ashamed. That kid's got a great future. But if you're asking, is he the best driver there? No, I think everyone would agree. But he had the most wins because he was there the entire 7 months.
Okay. David Arthur says, Eric, great point. I bet that's never happened before, leading driver. Okay, so he's answering the same question.
That's probably true.
But, one of the things I'm going to point out, I saw something I never thought I'd see the other night at the Yonkers. They had 8 drivers programmed for every race. 8 drivers. There wasn't 9, there wasn't 10, 8 drivers. So the same drivers were in every single race. And that goes to something what you said earlier, Billy.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it a lot easier when you're, because everyone's trying to eat, so you really don't want to overstep your boundaries sometime, and that's what these guys do. They're all in every race, and you don't want to make enemies, and this is what's kind of sad about the racing part of it with the favorites and all that again. But if they started doing well, like there a few years ago, Chester, when you would give a hole, they would fine you, but they did away with that as well. Like they stopped that, so. They never enforced it. I mean, it was there for a year and that was it.
That's a great question. It's on the board. And I would like to, I think we should pass that around.
I think that there was a good story that Billy O'Donnell told when he came down to Roosevelt in his early career before he was a driver. He watched a race over there. It was like a series race. And he watched the race, and George Phelan won the race, and he won the race in like 2-4, and Billy's like, wow, I thought, and this would be a little bit different, and then the next series went out there, and that race went in 2-1, and Billy's like, well, these horses are pretty much equal, so what the hell happened here? And everyone looked at him and said, Phelan from the rail, nobody pulls on him.
The question on the bottom is, who was best? Cam Fella, Annihilator, Some Beach Somewhere, and Bulldog Hanover. You could probably throw Niatros in that also.
I have no opinion. I didn't drive none of them, so I don't know.
Good answer. I'd go with Dan Patch. I'll throw out 0. No, it's hard to compare horses from one generation to the next. It's just really hard. They're all great horses.
Yeah, you're right. But my favorite horse of all time, coming from the I'm 53 years old and coming from when I was a teenager, Annihilator. I love watching Annihilator race. I remember as a kid at Liberty Bell, one of Niatros's last races. I was with my grandparents and we were sitting on the step. I remember, not even a horseman. And Niatros was there and they gave out a card with Niatros and I kept that for a long time. But Nihilator was my favorite and always will be my favorite horse of all times.
I remember I drove down from Monticello to Goshen with Clint Galbraith when he was driving Niatros as a 2-year-old. And Clint says to me, I got 2 horses in today. He says, I think they're the greatest horses I've ever sat behind. I don't remember who the other one was, but the one was Niatros. So I remember that. And he won that one for the fun of it. I see John Berry over there. He's awful quiet. That's not like our guy John. John's usually
no,
talking.
I'm just taking it all in. I'm enjoying being with these legends, and I wanted to tell Mr. Carter Sr. that I'm so proud of him as being the sire of a great young man, and not only for creating a great young driver, but for being a great parent himself in raising him.
Gregory Pegs.
There you go.
Yeah. Let me give this question a shot.
Winner.
There's 3 3-year-olds, and to me, the only 3-year-olds in my lifetime that didn't have to prove themselves were 3 of them on that list, and that was Niatros, Nihilator, and Some Beach Somewhere. I think those 3 horses didn't have to come back at 4. They had proved everything. And if you look at the way those horses raced, like from a boxing standpoint, they were like Muhammad Ali. They were just faster than everybody. They were quicker than everybody. They could do everything. And the only horse that I think the paradox to that was Cam Fella. Cam Fella, I think, was more like Mike Tyson and Rocky Marciano. He just found ways to beat you. That there were races, and you saw it famously with the It's Fritz race, where he was beat and came back to win. So I think the wonderful part about this at our age is we can talk about, it's like who was the best baseball player? Mantle, Bays, and now you've got, the newer guys. This is what keeps the sport healthy. And I think you've got to have the great horses to have that conversation.
It's hard for me to talk about who's the best pacer, because what Freddie says is true, but because of different years. But I believe the best trotter ever was
I know who you're going to say, Muscle Hill.
Yeah, because he was never challenged in any race that he was in, and who knows how good he probably would still be winning if he was racing. So,
and you just look what he did off as a sire. I mean, he's basically, he's been fantastic as a sire.
So it's hard to name the best pacer, but the best trotter, in my opinion, by far, and never challenged by anybody, was Muscle Hill. Okay, I guess, Billy, we're not going to get William back on here. I guess where he is, he has no internet. That's too bad. You got a good kid there. You're a lucky guy.
Well, it's not. There's no such thing as luck, Larry. It's called being blessed. We're all blessed.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, let's see. Questions from Larry's.
And believe me, he's been a little discouraged lately because he's used to winning, and for a few weeks he was just going through a little funk. And I told him, I said, son, you better grow some thick skin because this is the business. I said, everybody goes through it. I remember when Pierce went through it. I remember when David Miller went through it. I mean, and once again, I don't like Timmy, and I said to him the other day, I said to him, he's winning all these races at Chester, like you said, at 1-5 and 2-5. I said, man, when's the last time you brought something in over 5-1? I mean, you're on the best horses. But I said, when you got that much talent, why aren't you driving down to Kentucky right now instead of going periodically? You should be down there with the McCarthys and Dexter and them every day. But, you just never know what someone has going on. You've done it for so long. You got a home life. You don't want to travel. You rather stay stationary. But I think, guys of that nature that are supposed to be the upper echelon of the sport, I would want to be everywhere. And this is what my goal is for my son. So we moved him to Maryland so he could get his career started. You know, Chester would have been difficult. Just warming up horses would not be fun. I mean, it gives you experience, but not fun. I mean, if you ever watch the Harris commercial, the very last picture or frame on it is my son warming up a horse when he was like 17. Like, so he's part of Harris history. But you know, you got to crawl before you can walk. You know, so you do the Rosecrofts and the Ocean Downs and the Virginia, and you can turn out like Jimmy Morrow. Look at him; he was at Rosecroft forever, and he was fifth leading driver behind Morand and all them. He left there, and what happened after that? He's the man with the golden hands.
All right, let's go. Let me say hello to my friend Manny. When I say to Manny, shut the fuck up, them are terms of endearment, Manny, so don't get nervous. It just means I love you. Okay, let's go. Let's see this. Joseph, Meadowlands, the track I play. I gave up on handicapping the other speed, favoring inside trading of information and low payoffs. All of these were the harness tracks. Well,
Obviously, not everybody, but the majority agree with you. They're still the number one handle track in the sport. Nobody close.
okay, let's see. Eric says, David Beck has no drives that day. If I remember correctly, couple that with shenanigans of the track owner winning the handle. Okay, let's see. Manny says Tim Tetrick is on my trotter next Saturday. Manny has a real good trotter, a real good filly, 3-year-old filly trotter.
Timmy's done better the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's done good. Let's see what else Manny says. Sometimes he gets a little anxious. Eric, Brett Beckwith is unbelievable driver. You need to fall back a little bit with that. He will be one of the top guys in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Manny, for once you're right.
Manny's right. Just it's very difficult for a young driver to establish himself, and it's almost impossible for a young driver to establish himself at the Meadowlands. But this particular year, a lot of the veterans chose not to drive there in the winter. So Beckwith came there and he had success, and because a lot of the top guys weren't there, he had extraordinary success, which just led to more and more people wanting him to drive. You know, success breeds success.
How about Braxton Boyd?
Well, he take the what he did. He got an opportunity that nobody got in the Meadowlands Pace. Well, actually, in the North America Cup. In the North America Cup, he drew the 10-hole twice.
Billy, you got to turn your mic off.
In North America Cup, Boyd drew the 10-hole twice, and he says, what's the chance I ever get in this race ever again? So he blew the horse out in like 25 seconds, but the track was favoring front. Eventually, he let Blueprint cross in front of him at 53 and a half. I think 3/4 of 119, and for a brief moment, he looks like he's going to win. He finishes second, and then he gets placed first in the Meadowlands Pace. I mean, there's a lot of people that are never even going to be given those opportunities at such a young age. So hopefully he could turn that into something great.
Yep, no doubt about it.
Okay, PM says years ago, trainer drivers used to drive against each other. Whether that's true, but they also raced against the condition sheet. That's true. They race big picture, not one race. It's a long year. They race big picture, I don't know what that means. Not one race. It's a long year.
They're looking at the whole year, not just one race. So they were looking at the season for a horse, 30 races.
I think more accurately, fellas, and Larry and the older guys answer this. He's looking 2 or 3 races in advance, right?
Who's that? I don't know what you're talking about.
I think what he's saying, big picture, it's never just one race, unless that race might have been,
Oh, I understand. Okay.
some major stakes engagement. Maybe, the way the condition sheet was written in the 70s, there were times when it was just you're looking forward to a race a week from now or 2 weeks from now instead of the race tonight.
Well, when I was dropping horses in, it was ABC system and claimant races.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little easier, and the race secretary pretty much handicapped your horses for you. And I remember fighting with many race secretaries when I moved from Roosevelt to Yonkers and back and forth. Wait, why are you moving this horse up a class? Keep him in the C1. There was a lot of battles like that.
I think the condition races are better and more equal. The only problem with the condition races is that if by money earnings, a big trainer can go into the race office and say, listen, can you make this now one is a $12,001 instead of just 12,000 because the horse has 12,000 and he'll do it. So a lot of favors get done with the
well, when I was racing at the Meadowlands, I'd go in and talk with Joe DeFrank, and Joe would tell me, he said, well, I'm putting this one out as a fill or drop them in, but that race ain't going to fill. But the following race, there's the other condition, that race would fill, and I trained my horse accordingly. So
nice.
I remember there was a race secretary at Hawthorne, Bob Larry, and he would always try and help the bottom horseman. So there was this bottom horseman, and he had a horse that, just like a lot of people have, just a slow horse in the bottom condition. So he came to Bob Larry and asked him, and Bob just gave him the pen and said, here, you write it, I'll go with it. And he wrote it to the specifications where the third or fourth condition let him in. And of course, he didn't hit the board. So, yeah, of course you play the condition sheet. Unless you have a claimer, and unless you have some non-winners races ahead of your agenda, yeah, I mean, it's all about making money, just not tonight, but through the course of the year.
I think I saw Bob Larry do something that nobody else has ever seen. Smile. He smiled once. In all those years as a race secretary, I never saw him smile. One time he smiled.
Hey, John, now we had a show over here a few weeks back where they were talking about bowling. This show went into a total different direction about bowling, who the greatest bowlers are and stuff like that. You were a world champion bowler, correct?
Well, I wouldn't say world champion, but I was the Illinois state singles champion 55 years ago. When they had wooden lanes and high boards popping up and 3 pound 8 ounce wood, 310 sometime. And these guys have pretty neat conditions today, hitting 3 2s and 3 4s with no high boards and 16 bowling balls. I had one bowling ball with an adjustable thumb hole, and I used it for strikes, spares, and any house that I went to. So the game's changed. They've made 150 bowlers, 210 bowlers today, so it's very popular. And of course, our sport's done the same thing. We've made the 210 2-year-old list obsolete, and now you got to go in 152 to make any money. So it's all relevant.
Yep.
But
Okay, let's see. PM says, Larry, I've seen every driver in my day, but when I was in the paddock, it used to turn my stomach when I saw horses that Lucien Fontaine drove giant wells and blood all over. Well, let me say a couple of things about that. I have to say this. Back then, when you were talking about with Lucien, first of all, I'll give you a couple of reasons why a lot of horses bled back then. One reason was the buckles for the handholds. They were resting right on the horse's back. That's where they were. Every driver had the buckles on the horse's back. Second, almost every driver back then used a spur on the whip. Almost every driver used a spur on the whip, and when they hit the horse, even if they hit the saddle pad with the snapper, the spur would hit the rump of the horse, and they would bleed. When you hit a horse and you're sitting that close to the horse, I think probably what hits the horse first is the front part of the whip, and it hits the saddle pad. But you're right. A lot of times back then, horses came back with welts on them, and you're right. But a lot of times it comes from the buckle or the spurs that they used to use on the whips back then. But you're right. A lot of times there was a lot of overuse of the whips back then, and so I can't make an excuse. In one way, you're right, but that's
I think the excuse is society. It's like when I was a little boy, you finished your McDonald's hamburger, you threw the wrapper out the window. Your father threw the cigarette out the window. I mean, I lived in Chicago, and there were years where you couldn't swim because there were dead alewives all over the beach because there was so much pollution. And then, society got smarter. So things that never upset somebody in the 60s and 70s started upsetting people. And that's how we got to where we are.
Yeah. All right. Manny says, I have a fire going on right now with my cigar. What a beautiful night. Manny watches this show and sometimes even comes on this show when he's outside because he smokes cigars, so he sits outside. Now, Manny, put the fire out because you're supposed to come over my house Sunday, and I don't want to hear another excuse that your house caught on fire. So put the fire out. Okay, let's see what else. My prayers are with you, Howard. That's nice, Angelique. We got nice people here. Nice
we
people.
do.
Let's see. Okay, let me see if Manny has a decent question. Michael, you explain to me how Mike Tyson found a way to beat fighters. What the hell does that mean? How Mike Tyson...
He was a bully. I mean, he just bullied you. I mean, I arguably until he lost to Douglas, you could put his fights probably with anybody in the history of boxing.
And he had a Marciano style, duck, 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 and weave. He was short as it was, and he duck and duck and duck and uppercuts and duck and weave, and he was very, very, very fast and very, very, very strong.
Just like Marciano, you never saw Tyson take a backward step ever. And most of the time he was in against people that were noticeably larger than him. But he had tremendous hand speed and as powerful as any boxer.
Oh.
Hey, gentlemen, I have about 2% of battery left, but I would like to leave you with a little levity tonight, if I may.
We could use all the levity we can get.
Okay. Freddie knows about this. It was about the guy who went to the Meadowlands every night, and he bet $10 daily double wheels with the longest shot in the first race with everything in the second. And every night he lost until this one night, the 60-1 shot wins the first race, the longest shot on the board, and his doubles are worth $8,500 on the low side. And I think Freddie said 51,240 something on the high side. About 2 minutes to post, his throat is all dry and everything. And he says, I got to go up and get a drink. And he gets 3 steps from the bar and collapses. And all these people came around, and oh my God, the paramedics finally came around, and a big crowd. And finally a lady came around and peeked over, and she said, my God, is he alive? The paramedic said, only in the double.
Is that a true story?
It's just a little levity for you, that's all. Is he alive? Only in the double.
John, thank you very much for coming. We certainly
John,
enjoyed having you.
On, John.
It was an honor for me to be in such a great company. That's all I can
Hey,
say.
John, before you go, how many sets of colors do you have of some of our great drivers?
I've got about 80 sets.
80 sets.
Yep. And I got magazines going back to the 1890s, books going back to the 1860s. And when I'm gone, my kids are not going to, they're not going to, they aren't in the business. So I don't know what's going to happen with them. Maybe the Hall of Fame, I'll get them to them, but something. I got
John,
a lot of Hall of Famers, from Shelley Goodrow and Billy Houghton to all the Dancer brothers and old Joe O'Brien, colors from the 50s, and Frank Irvin, and got a lot of great ones. That's for sure.
John, I should send you my book so you could understand why I gave you that stupid answer that happened to be true when you asked me, when you mentioned 20% winning, and I says I won the races I had to win and lost the races I had to lose. So I think if you read my book, you would understand that answer. So I'm going to send you my book. If you get Freddie your address, Freddie will get it to me, and I will send you a copy of the book, and you'll understand the answer I gave you.
I will accept it only if it's autographed.
You got it.
Gentlemen, just be well.
Whose autograph, Larry?
I hope we're all together again in the future. And Mr. Carter, my hat's off to you, my friend.
Thanks for coming on. And give Freddie your address.
No,
Okay.
I'll get it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Take care,
Good night,
kids.
John.
Be well.
Thanks.
Okay.
Right, John.
Bye-bye now. Bye.
Mr. Carter, I've been waiting to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
When you started driving, it was infinitely harder to get drives, correct, than it was for your son?
Well, yes, it was difficult for me. So I made sure it wasn't going to be as tough for him, because I didn't come from a third or fourth, fifth generation horseman. I started on my own. And, I started the hunter and jumper business. And but my family always went to the track as a kid. I went to Brandywine, and I would go to Liberty Bell. And then before you know it, I'd be hanging out near watching all the drivers and trainers and the horses. And when I was old enough to really understand what I wanted to do, I got a job with Charlie Eilenfeld. I don't know if you guys remember him, but I got a job with Charlie Eilenfeld in high school. And then I worked for Billy Muggleston for a long time. And then I just went and worked for Doug Swaggart and Brian Rowland, and then I went on my own after that.
So what year would that have been?
I want to say about 86. Well, 86 is when I started getting it serious. By about 91, I went out on my own, I'm going to say. But it was a struggle. It was a struggle. It's not like what I'm doing now, but it was a struggle.
It was a struggle for everybody, right, to try and get established?
Oh, yeah.
That's the most difficult part.
Look at Larry when he was starting out. He was at all the bull ring tracks. He was eating pigeons, if I remember correctly.
Well, it's a long story. I got a little lucky early until Tannenbaum got a hold of me, and then my menu changed from steaks to pigeons. Oh, that's a whole other story. Which,
Larry, how is the health front this week?
the what?
Health. How's your health?
Oh, all right. Okay, it's good. Everything is good. Everything is fine. Thank you for asking. Everything is fine. Let's see. We got to look for some questions here. Let's see this. Joseph, there's a horse at Saratoga called Gene and Jude. How many times has Mike A. and Mr. Berry been to Gene and Jude?
You have to be joking. I mean, that place was 5 minutes from Maywood Park. So thousands. And it was open till 3 a.m. So if you'd come in the 70s and 80s, if you came from the track and stopped at Gene and Jude's, there would be close to 100 people waiting there in line to get a hot dog. So still there. Been there a long time.
Okay. PM says, Larry, the only reason I said that about Fontaine is because he never hit a horse like you described. He only put the whip between their legs and stabbed at them. Freddie will tell you. Okay.
I'm supposed to tell him?
No, I guess.
You mentioned
Yeah, I've seen Lucian drive horses in multiple ways, and I would say, like, if you're going to draw blood, you're going to be going underneath the shaft, going for the stifle area. I mean, that's the sensitive area. I've seen Stanley put the whip between their legs. I can go on many stories there.
Right. I just think we've all gotten smarter. There are certain things that were done 50 years ago that just.
Well, it's unacceptable nowadays. What was acceptable years ago is not acceptable nowadays. Larry, like when we were racing horses going down the stretch, my hands weren't in the handholds. My hands were behind the handholds. So I'd have to go with one line. So, hands in, both lines in one hand. So
I think that's why Heissa's involved.
That's the way I was taught. That's the way I was taught to race. So
I think that's why Heissa's involved at the level they're involved.
Okay, here's a question from Pat, and I guess he's answering Manny as usual. Must have said something derogatory, but Pat says, Manny, not saying Muscle Hill wasn't. I give lots of weight to Larry's opinion. You could take it to the bank that Muscle Hill was never challenged in any of his races, and was, in my opinion, the best trotter that there ever was. That's my opinion. And I've been out of the game for 30 years. That's just my opinion. Watching his races, watching that Hamiltonian win, and listening to the guy who trained him, Greg Peck. Listening to him about the horse, and so that's my opinion. If somebody else has an opinion, just tell me a horse that you think is better than Muscle Hill.
I think he's in the discussion. I think being a trotter, retiring at 3 really plays against him when you're talking about great trotters. But as you said, watching him race, every race that was never in doubt. But I never think that he would ever race against horses. Like you look at that March of Dimes trot in 1988 with Maclo Bell and Urasi and Napolitano and all those. I mean, just different level of horses. So you can't complain about Muscle Hill's career. It was never beat. But I certainly don't think that he ever beat trotters like the ones I just mentioned. Not even close.
Okay, so I guess we have to just go by. I have to stick to my opinion because you're exactly right what you said. In fact, I said it many times. There's a big difference between racing against 3-year-olds and then the next year racing against 4-year-olds. So I understand what you're saying, but the same thing could be said about Rocky Marciano. He never lost a fight, but what if he would have continued one more fight or 2 more fight? And what about if he would have ever fought any of the guys today? So, but
you're not going to believe this, but I'm a boxing aficionado, and this was done. There was such a crazy demand after Ali that somebody put together a computer fight between Marciano and Ali, and actually you had to go to a theater to watch it and pay for a ticket on closed circuit. But boxing was at such an extraordinary level, which Ali brought everything to that level, that
who won?
Marciano. Like I said, it was a computer fight. I mean, if you think about saying who's the greatest boxer of all time, you'll get 20 different reasons. I mean, Sugar Ray Robinson fought for 100 years, lost once, you could make the case for Dempsey, all these people, Jack Johnson, 20 of them, and all of them have merit. but this is why we talk about it. And Muscle Hill is in that discussion as one of the great trotters ever.
Okay. Let's see, Manny. Manny. Just, you know what's scary? I think Manny's coming over my house Sunday, and I have something going, a business deal, which might turn out to be a big deal, and I might need quite a bit of money. And Manny,
I would be very nice to that gentleman, Larry.
Yeah, and Manny has. That's what I'm about to say. And Manny has the money that I would need to do what I have to do, and so maybe I should be a little better to him because he's getting tired of me telling him to shut the fuck up. Because
you shouldn't say that.
Well, now he puts up. Well, Ali would put Marciano away quick. Ali proved the brute force. And it showed when he fought Foreman. Well, let me just say this. Some of the toughest fighters I've seen, and I'm not like Michael that knows everything about fighting, but the little bit that I've seen is that guys like who could I name?
Joe Walcott.
When Joe Walcott hit you, I wouldn't care if he was 90. You went down. And Marciano took everything he had for 14 rounds. Guys like Ezzard Charles, even though he was a little lighter. Guys like who was that other guy? I forget. So
it was mostly Charles and Walcott. He fought Archie Moore, towards the end.
Yeah, but first of all, in my opinion, he stood up to them guys that were tough guys, especially the last guy I mentioned. I even forgot his name already.
Joe Walcott was probably the toughest.
Yeah, Walcott. Yeah, that's who I meant. And the second fight that he did, he knew that. I think Marciano broke every blood vessel in both of his arms. He cracked his jaw. And for the second fight, the first time Marciano, he could have blew on him. He went down for the count. He wasn't gonna take that punishment again. But Muhammad Ali never ever threw a body punch, only head punches, and he didn't have the punch power to knock a Marciano out. So Manny, once again, in my opinion, you're wrong. And just make sure you show up Sunday.
Opinions vary.
So Billy, I told you this was going to be a fun show.
Poor Billy. I wish you. I see. Every time you turn the mic back on, we can't hear you.
I know, but listen, this is a great show, and I love it.
How come now when you're talking, it don't make the noise? It's only when you stop talking. I don't know why. Because when you speak, we hear
keep talking.
Yeah, I don't know why, and then I actually moved farms, and I got great service here. I don't know. I just bought this new phone. Maybe it's the phone. I don't know.
Now we hear you perfect, but as soon as you stop, see, like when you stop talking, it gets
it's like little chip noises.
Yeah, like you're surrounded by a bunch of ducks.
Billy, do you follow boxing, Billy?
I actually stopped watching boxing probably when Mike Tyson went downhill. So yeah, I watched boxing like Sugar Ray Leonard, and Marvin Hagler or whatever, and
Tommy Hearns.
Tommy Hearns, and I was at Larry Holmes' place before, and I watched it back then. And then when Tyson took over by storm, and I watched that. And then once he lost, and then he got in that other fight with Holyfield and bit the ear off. That was kind of like my boxing. That was kind of the end of boxing for me.
Yeah. Actually, Holmes always has a big place in my heart. He did one of the most humane things I ever saw. He was fighting a kind of a washed-up Ali in the 80s. And he could have taken him out, and Ali was in very bad shape. And he just kept looking at the ref. He's like, please stop this. Please stop this. He'd punch Ali like in the chest, and then he just looked back at the referee like, please stop this. This is my idol. I can't do this. And eventually the ref stopped it. But, Larry Holmes was a good guy.
Yeah. I was
Eastern Pennsylvania.
I was with him at a benefit they had for Bobby Ches. He is a nice guy, and he shows up at all these things. He's very generous. He's a nice guy. Oh, Manny asked another questions. I guess again, I should answer some of them because he writes he writes more questions than anybody in the whole chat. Oh wait, said something here. I love you. I love you, Larry. You could tell me to shut the fuck up anytime. Okay, Manny, who was the fighter that got the shit kicked out of him, lost the fight, and said, you never put me down? That was Jake LaMotta.
Final answer.
My final answer. There's one other thing here. Let's see, Larry. I know you had a giant problem with Tannenbaum. Did he ever do the same thing to any other driver? I don't know, but he was not a nice man. He was a very well connected with the Democratic Party, and that's why I found this all out later. He was a thief. He embezzled a lot of people. They had 1 million lawsuits against him for a lot of bad things. He owned the racetrack with his brother only because of his political connections. In the
I think there were 3 of them. I think there were 3 of them.
And there were 3 brothers, and he was partners with Morty Finder, who at the time was the biggest bettor at the racetrack. And Morty Finder had his own window only for him, but he was partners with Tannenbaum. And it was at one race when I come from Yonkers, from Roosevelt to Yonkers, and I asked the race secretary I won 3 or 4 in a row with, I forget what horse it was, and I asked him to classify him because I didn't want to lose him in a claimer. And he classified him, and he was really buried. He classified him B3, which he had to, even though he won all claiming races, cheap claiming races. But I loved the horse. He was one of my first horses. I didn't want to lose him in a claiming race. They classified him B3 because they had it because he was older than 5. And I drove him careful. I drove him to win, but I drove him careful. And I was sitting third going to the half with the favorite on top in the B3 condition race. And I didn't come first over, and I sat in. And at the head of the stretch, I was 6th on the rail, hopelessly locked in, and I couldn't get out. And I finished 3rd in the race, climbed over the winner, and Morty Finder and Lou Guida bet $10,000 to win on me. And after the race, naturally, I climbed over the winner right at the wire. And Morty Finder called him up. He says, you see what this kid did? He stiffed the horse. He should have won by 100 lengths. He should have pulled him at the half. And Tannenbaum called the paddock judge, and he says, tell Larry he got 24 hours to get off the grounds. And that was Tannenbaum.
Morty had done that to some other people. He got Buddy Gilmore, Benny, and I think other guys. He got them. He had better race and complained about them in the race, and basically they were kicked out of Roosevelt over it.
I have a newspaper article that I think it was Morty, the owner of Roosevelt Raceway, that he used to go and complain all the time. And Morton Levy, who owned Roosevelt, said in a newspaper article, and I have it, that this guy just lies. He's don't pay no attention to anything he says, and he does exactly what you said. He complains about everybody. And the worst part is that he had horses with Schulte and 2 or 3 other people there. And
I trained some horses for him. I had 2 horses for him, and he was partners with Telly Savalas on them.
Yeah, and I happen to know a couple of moves that were made that Morty insisted on. And as much as I hated him, I would never say it. I would never.
You trained horses for him too, didn't you?
Oh, this was
about 10 or something.
It happened in 1964, I think, and it wasn't until 1980 when Stanley Dancer gave me the nod and gave me some horses, and everybody was giving me horses. And then he was very good friends with Davey Handel. Davey was probably his best friend. And Davy, I did Davy a big favor. When Davy went to jail for income tax evasion, he went to jail for 3 years. He had one horse left. He got rid of everything. He had one horse left called Helen's Adonis, and that was named after his first wife. And he remembered me from the article that they gave me a full-page article in 61 or 62, whenever it was, that I was so great and an upcoming driver, all the bullshit. And he remembered me for that. So when he was going to jail, I was up in Monticello. So he called me up and he said to me, I'm going to jail for 3 years for income tax evasion. I have one horse. Would you take him up there for me? I don't want to abuse him. I don't want to, would you take him? So I said, yes. And I took that horse for 3 years from him. And all I did was race her very lightly every couple of weeks. I finished, in the money, just enough to pay her way. And when he got out of jail, I made sure that that horse was in. I got in, and I bet a couple of $1,000s on him all over the place, and he win. And I gave all that money to Davy. I got him a room at the Concord Hotel with 2 hookers in there for the weekend. I bought him a whole wardrobe of clothes, gave him all the money that he won from the bet, and in return, and I did that just as a favor to him, and in return, about 2 months later, he brought me Aaron Wagman, who gave me a blank check to buy anything I wanted.
Now, I have to ask Billy and Michael, are you familiar with who Davey Handel is and who Morty Finder is?
Morty Finder, I've been educated on. Dave Handel, no.
Okay. Dave Handel was a big-time gambler back then. And he was one of the big gamblers at Roosevelt and Yonkers.
Okay, so now let's see. Somebody said Morty Finder. Morty Finder did business with my dad. If he lost wager, he'd bitch and moan. Yes?
Yes, 100%.
Yes, he would.
I wanted to bring it up. I got notes here to bring this up. I sent you I texted it to Larry and Freddie yesterday. In the 60s, Yonkers and Roosevelt were actually out handling Saratoga.
Oh, yeah. They did that many times.
And doing more attendance than the Mets and the Yankees. And in Sportsman's Park in the 60s and 70s was outdrawing the White Sox and Cubs. And when you ask why the older people in this business are passionate about the business, that's why. Because at one time, when it was run by people that really cared about how the business was run, it was an incredibly popular sport.
Yeah, well, when on Long Island, if you went into any restaurant bar, any restaurant bar on Long Island, there were pictures of races all over the place, hanging up behind the bar, on the walls when you went in. They were all over the place. Every single restaurant and bar had them.
Here's a question from PM. He says, Larry, you were talking about hobbles before. Do they still use New Zealand hobbles, them flat hobbles? They're about an inch thick but flat. I guess Mr. Carter would know better, and he probably would, because when I was still racing, the hobbles, the breed got better and better, and the hobbles got lighter and lighter, and you very rarely saw leather hobbles on a horse, and the hobbles just went from an inch to 3/4 to half-inch hobbles, plastic, and then the New Zealand hobbles come, the very light ones that were flat. I don't know if they still use them. I don't even think half of these horses racing today, from what I've seen up in Monticello today, watching your kid race, they don't even need hobbles. I don't believe. I think I raced.
They should have a three-legged race.
I raced a lot of horses that I thought, when we stretched the hobbles out to maybe 58, 59 inches back then, I'm talking about in the 70s, I raced a couple of horses with a half hobble. I took the hobbles right off them because they would if a horse just got a little crooked, they would burn. If you made them too long, they would burn because they were too long and slapping. If you made them too short, it would naturally interfere with their stride and their performance, and it would still burn them. So what I used to do with them horses was just take one hobble and just put them in the front. Just just put the hobble in, and then instead of putting the back loop in the back leg, just put it in the other front leg and tie it up, and it's a half hobble. And then in one time I made thick rubber bands out of tire tubes, the race bike tire tubes, and just put a big like a thick rubber band right where the hobble would hit, and they would actually go free-legged thinking they had the support of a hobble. But a lot of Bobby, oh geez, I forgot his name. But there was a guy in Yonkers that sent me up a horse, and I almost had the horse's name too. Bobby, oh God, I forgot his name. And he sent me up a horse with all the equipment. Maybe when I tell the story, I'll remember his name. And the horse too. And the horse couldn't never qualify. I think qualifying time at Yonkers was 2.7 or something like that. In Monticello, it was 2.9, and that's all he would pace is 2.9. So he sends this horse up to me, and the horse, I should remember this name because I won a lot of money with this horse. He sends the horse up to me, and everything is riveted. The head check is riveted. The hobbles are riveted. And don't change nothing. And he's perfect just the way it is. Otherwise, he'll make a break. Don't change nothing. And he's loaded with hobble burns and everything. So I says, okay. So all he wanted me to do was qualify him, was to race him because he qualified in Yonkers, but he didn't make the time. So he sent him up to me because qualifying time was 2.9. And that's where he went. So I'm getting him ready to race. And I'm jogging him, and I says, let me just go a slow trip with him the day before the race. So I hook them all up, everything, and walking down to Monticello. At that time, I was in Barn G, top of the hill. I'm walking down the hill, and at the end of the path, before you go onto the track, there was a little lump, a little like road bump, and he tripped over it. And when he tripped, he snapped the head check. When he snapped the head check, he snapped the hobble. When he went down, he snapped the hobble. So naturally, I get off. I walk him back up to the track, and I says, "Look, let me take everything off." I took everything off him, and he went with his head down between his legs. But I let him go, and he was pacing. He was pacing fine. I says, "What the hell?" So I scratch him from the race the following day, and that horse I wind up racing him free-legged. I can't think of his name. But I took him to Freehold and made one of the biggest bets I ever made at Freehold on this horse free-legged. And I can't. Bobby, oh, I thought I had his name. It wasn't Bobby Frame. It was Bobby. It was Robert something. I forgot. Anyway, but there were a couple of horses. I put rubber bands, big, thick rubber bands on them instead of hobbles. And I guarantee you, after watching these races today, with these horses, these hobbles flapping all around, I'll bet you that all you have to do is put a rubber band around their front legs, thinking they have the support of the hobble, and they would pace free-legged and probably go better and probably be safer. Anyway, I don't know why I told that story, but so anyway, the question is for you. Do they still use these flat New Zealand hobbles?
I don't. I mean, there are some guys that use them. Maybe even the Kiwis still use them, and but most of the time, no. They use the circle ones like the Jackson and those and they're not as light. And like you said, I don't know why with the way the horses' gaits are today, and what do the blacksmiths usually do now? They just slap 4 aluminum on the horses, and because their gaits are so natural. They probably can go with those New Zealand hobbles, but I don't see them around as often as they used to be.
This guy here, I don't know. PM says, Larry, at one point, Davy Handel used to come to the farm with a 20-year-old car asking us grooms for money to borrow. I find that very, very hard to believe, PM. I don't know who you are, I don't think, but I find that very hard to believe because I'll tell you, he lived on Queens Boulevard in a very, very exclusive apartment building. Uh, he had, he always used to come to the racetrack. Nobody knows this. He used to come to the racetrack with a suit and tie every single night and have his little joy. He had a Chihuahua dog. He used to put it in his pocket. Nobody knew that. He had a Chihuahua dog in his jacket pocket. And he would bet a lot of money and was always in big action and can borrow anything he wanted to borrow anytime. And the reason why I from 1979 until 1984, it was nice that the guest on before said I had a 20% record, win record, but it could have been 40. It could have been 40 or 50. But I'll tell you why. Because Davey was a sick, degenerate gambler, but he would never, ever borrow money. Maybe I just find it hard to believe because he was a big action guy. Every winter meet when we went to Pompano, he stayed at my house. I always had a room for Davey. He stayed at my house, and he brought me Aaron Wagman. And Davey was a bad gambler, and Davey a sports bettor, and I could relate to that because that was my addiction 20 years before that. And when Aaron gave me a blank check to buy whatever I wanted to buy, and he bought me horses for $100,000 that he paid $10,000 for, and after I got $1 million worth of horses that were worth maybe $50,000. I said, Davey, you have to stop. You have to. I think I did a podcast. You have to stop this. First of all, you're hurting your friend. He's your friend, and you're robbing him blind. You're not even giving him a chance to get. So I know he's wealthy and he don't need the money, and he just likes the action. But you just and you're making me look bad. I mean, I put these. He bought me a horse for $100,000. That when I filled out the application for the Meadowlands, I put all these horses down. I asked for 30 stalls, and Joe DeFrank crossed out half the stalls because he knew the horses and they weren't 50 claimers or 40 claimers. But one he left in there that was a 100 claimer because he didn't have many 100 claimers and he wanted to fill that race every week. So he made me put that horse in a $100,000 claimer. The horse was as big as a greyhound. And he paid $100,000 for the horse, and I mean I finished distance, and I told him, I says, Davey, not only are you robbing your friend, but I look like a fucking idiot out there. I got $1 million worth of horses that you bought for Aaron that are not worth $100,000. He was a sick, degenerate gambler that owed, and he used to bet with John Gotti's guy. He was friendly with John Gotti. And I know because there was a lot of times I had to help him out, and I had to allow this to happen. And when I says, Davey, I can't buy. You think I wanted to buy Wildwood Jeb? It turned out okay, but this fucking horse bled walking from barn to barn, left mine in a race. I mean, he had a tumor in his. I mean, it was terrible. I send a groom to get him. He says, I bought your horse Wildwood Jeb $100,000. And he comes to the barn. What are you fucking red? Back ankles are blown up and it was terrible. But he made a lot of money on it, and he owed the bookmaker a lot of money, so I did what I had to do. But it was sad because Aaron was really a good guy, but so was Davey a really good guy. And when I was in trouble, like Davey was in trouble, I know what it is because that guy would have killed Davey for the 100,000-200,000 that he lost every weekend. And I know because it was the football season when we were down there, and he would never win. And I says, Davey, this is your friend. You're doing it to your friend. He says, yeah, but I'm saving my life. So what can I say? I couldn't say nothing, but it was terrible. But he was a big action guy, and I find it so hard to believe that he had a 20-year-old car asking grooms for money. I can't believe that. And PM, I don't know who you are, but you'd have to. I don't believe it, because in the early days, in the 60s, he had horses. He had horses partners with Morty Finder and with Schulte and Houghton, and not with Dancer, with Schulte and Houghton and one other guy. He was in big action. Now after I left him, after in '84, when I got barred for life because I didn't cooperate during an investigation, not had anything to do with races. I just refused to give up some guys that gave me ticket numbers for a trifecta.
Larry, that would be a good question to ask PM. Like, what year is he talking about?
It had to be after '86, because even in '86, in '84, when the racing commission said we're having an investigation on this race 6 weeks ago, we know that you cashed the trifecta ticket, and we want to know how you got the numbers, leaving the three first, second, and third choice out. Who gave you these numbers? And I wasn't racing there at the time. I was on Sunday when I used to take my mother to the track every Sunday. She lived in Monticello. I was racing at the Meadowlands. And I said to them, I says, I don't have no horses here. I wasn't in a race, and I'm allowed to bet whatever I want to bet. And they says, well, did you bet on this race? And I says, I don't remember. And they says, we have the teller that says that you bet on this race. Who gave you these numbers? And I wouldn't give up the guy. I wouldn't give it. There were three of them. There were four guys altogether, but two of them worked for me years back, and they saw me in the dining room. They hadn't seen me in maybe 5, 6 years, and they come over to my table. They said, "You're going to be here for the last race," and I said, "Probably." I was with my mother, and he says, "Well, here, bet these numbers," and he gave me the ticket. When the eighth race, when the next to the last race came, I says to my mother, "Come on, let's go," because my car's in valet. She says, "Aren't you going to bet what that boy told you to bet?" My mother's innocent. She didn't know anything about betting. So she says, I said, "No, Ma, come on." She says, "But you told that boy you were going to bet. You told him you." So I says, "All right, Ma." So I went to the window. I bet it was a $3 ticket. I think I did a $3 4-horse box, and it win. I think I win 1,600. And my mother had no idea. She says, "Here, this is for you." She says, "What?" I says, "It won. What the boy told me to bet won." So the teller recognized me when they had this big investigation. So that's what. Now, when I got barred, Davey Handel and Aaron offered me $1 million to pay off the 4 drivers and let them take the rap, so I could rat on them. And I said, I can't do that. Larry Kadish got very mad at me, but he says, I'm going to stay in the business. I says, I'm going to fight this thing. And I said, I'm going to stay in the business until my appeals. And so he says, all right, I'll keep my horses. I'll stay in the business until see what happens. After 3 years and $1.5 million, I lost all my appeals in 4 states. And Larry Kadish got out of the business, but Davey was in big action up until 1986, in big action. Now maybe what you're saying happened after '86, but I can't believe Davey, a 20-year-old car. When I was with Davey, we bought a brand new car for his girlfriend that he was with, maybe his wife. I forgot her name. Really lovely lady. And she sent him to college up in Buffalo, I think. And Davey and me bought him a brand new car, and we shipped it up to him. And it's sad. He got killed the first night he was there. He got killed in the car crash. It was so sad. But Davey was in big action. And it's so hard for me and Davey was a really good guy that had a sick problem like I had, and but was in big action, knew a lot of people, and he could have went any place to borrow money because he had a good reputation. He always paid. So I find this hard to believe. So PM, maybe, I know Davey died a few years back, but I find that very, very hard to believe that he showed up at a farm in a 20-year-old car asking for grooms for money. He would never do that, and he would never have to do that. he had a lot of good friends, and especially in Aaron. Aaron was a very, very, very wealthy guy who his business, he did 80 million a year, and 90% of that was in cash that he had buried. When he built his new house, he had a room downstairs built as a safe. And he was the kind of guy that when I went to buy horses, if the guy wanted 100,000 for the horse, he would say, ask him if he take all cash, I'll give him 200,000. If he'll take all cash, he just had to get rid of money. He just had so much money, so much cash. And I was the only guy in the world. Normally, you got horses for sale for 100,000. You go, will you take 80 or 90? Aaron would say, I'll give you 150 if you take it all in cash. And that's the kind of guy Aaron was. Davey could have got any amount of money he wanted from Aaron, so it's hard. That's hard for me to believe. But I don't want to call you a liar. But maybe it was real early on. But real early on, he was in the service. He was a Purple Heart guy. He was just a good guy. So I hate to go on about that, but he was. It's hard for me to believe.
Well, let's talk about Kadish for a second. Kadish should have owned Roosevelt Raceway, him or Steinbrenner, one of the two.
Yeah, well,
not the group that ended up with Roosevelt. So
yeah, he just got out and out fucked, and Sonny Werblin fucked him, and Madison Square Garden, and he was
open Western Madison. Yeah.
Yeah, he was very, 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 very upset. He was in the middle of building me a mansion on his property. He bought the largest parcel of land in Old Westbury. Very, very expensive. He went from one major boulevard to the other. And then he was building a paddocks and everything in Old Westbury. That's a very exclusive area. I think the property back then in the 80s went for $1 million an acre. He bought from one big boulevard to the other and then he started building paddocks, and the people all around, the neighbors, start complaining. So what he did was he hired bulldozers, and they dug down about, I don't know, maybe 10 feet from the street level, and they took all that dirt and they built a mound around all his property with that dirt that they dug. So now and then he put them big trees, them big tall trees that go straight up like that, one right next to another. So the whole property was surrounded like a fort with all of these trees on a mound. And he built this whole training facility right down there, the barn with the paddocks and everything right down in there. And when he got turned down from Roosevelt Raceway, it was so sad. He was so mad. Because
he offered 50 some odd million in cash, and they took the 50 million bonds from the town of Hempstead.
Yeah.
That was just that was Bill Hopkins, taking a payoff there. He was involved with the group that bought it. So
he was very mad, and like I said, I tell a lot of people I come on the show sometimes when you're in a position like I was, and you're around wealthy people, and they offer you opportunities, take them. I never took them. I never thought my I had Stanley Dancer on my side. I had Aaron on my side. I had everybody on my side. I wasn't fixing races. I wasn't doing anything wrong. The only problem I had was that I had 50 claimers that were $10,000 horses. I had to try to get out of that. Then I tried to convince Davey, which I did. Look, if you're going to buy these horses, at least buy well-bred mares that are dead lame, that you can get for $10,000, $20,000, and charge them $100. At least we could breed them. There's a reason, instead of just, you can't keep doing this. But Davey was just a good guy, and that's why this is so hard. It's so hard for me to believe. But maybe PM, you could just be a little bit more to the maybe. I don't know how. I don't know, because he went right from the Army and he was in big action, and where he was living was very, very expensive.
Yeah, but Larry, I'm looking here. He's saying 1988. So.
Oh, he said that 1988.
Yeah.
Well, I only know up until 86, when they offered me in 84. When I took the life suspension, they told me to rat on them that will give each guy 200,000 or 300,000, and each one of them would have taken it because they were making $3,000-4,000 a year income. You know, that was what they were. So maybe they were making a little bit more, but that's why a lot of them races were fixed up there. You couldn't make a living, and Davey was right, and Aaron was right, and Kadish was right. Give them a couple of 100,000. So even if they're suspended for a year, that's more money than they're going to make in 20 years. But I wouldn't do it. I says I can't. I just can't do it. I can't rat on the poor one guy. Just got married, had a baby, just bought a trailer. I couldn't. The other guy was I don't want to mention their names, even though 3 of them are dead. But the other guy was, I'll tell you one guy. It was Bubba Smith, black guy. He's dead now. But he was a good guy. He's just a good guy that worked his ass off, had no money. How the fuck could you give these guys up? You know, but the 200,000. But what I should have did, realize it now, what I should have did, because I hurt all the people like Kadish and Davey and Aaron. I hurt all them people because they supported me through all them years from 78 until that point. And we were doing well, and we were happy. I mean, me, Davey, and Aaron split $1 million party in 1981. We took over the whole Concord Hotel for Christmas for 3 days. Took over the whole hotel, $1 million, 900 some thousand. And me, Aaron, and Davey. Aaron, when we won the Cane Pace, Aaron gave me and Davey a third of the horse each, so we each had a third. And he gave us the money each. And if he would have won the jug, Morty Finder was giving Davey, because they were good friends. He on Pine Hollow Stud. He was giving him $3 million for Wildwood Jeb, as a stallion, and me and Davey had 2/3 of them because Aaron gave us a third each. Aaron gave us a third for everything, and the same thing with that's why it's so hard for me to believe, because Aaron was still alive in '88. Aaron's dead now. Aaron had diabetes really bad, and years later they cut off one leg, then the other leg, and he wound up dying. But he was still around then with a major business and a lot of money. So that would 88. I can't believe that. But and Kadish felt the same way. Kadish told me, he says when he said he spent $3 million a year on yearlings every year for Ted Wing. And the only one that ever turned out to be good was the only one that they told him not to stake. And I forgot the name of the horse. These guys would probably know the horse. But the best horse he ever had, they told him, no, don't stake this one. But he not only spent the $3 million a year, but he staked them all. Paid all the stake payments. So another 60, 70, 80,000 in payments for each one of them things. And when I lost the final appeal, I called him up. I said, Larry, I lost my final appeal. And he says, I'm out of the business. And he sold everything. He kept what he had. He had that guy on the farm working for him, taking care of the horses. And he got out. That was it. So I don't know why we got into this thing, but
we started talking about Davey Handel as a gambler.
Yeah, he had a bad habit, but he was.
We had a couple of big gamblers back then. We had some really major players were big gamblers.
Yeah, but Morty was a fucking creep. Davey was not. Davey was a good guy. And a war.
Doberman was another one. The Babe or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Babe and Cookie.
Babe and Cookie. Let's see.
They weren't anywhere near the gamblers of today, boy. They never approached these guys.
What's this? Eric says, Michael Zeltzer. My question is for Michael on the show. What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Maybe there's a follow-up.
Okay, we'll look for it. Larry, John Campbell said Macklow Bell, greatest horse he ever drove. It could be. That don't mean he's better than the one I said. Okay,
Good answer, Larry.
that's true.
But we're talking. There was
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. A trainer, Johnny Campbell's driving a horse for a trainer, and he gets off the horse, and John says to him, "Yeah, I think you should cut him." And the trainer looks. He says, "Why? I've already done that." And John looks and says, "Good move."
we're talking about the gamblers. There was a story with
Billy got it. No one else got it.
there was a story with Dana Parham in the Harness Racing Update where he mentioned one of the bigger groups, and one of the bigger groups bets $1 billion a year on horse racing, and profits 100 million per year, and has been doing this for at least 15 years. So the gamblers, the big gamblers of today, probably bigger than the top 100 gamblers combined 50 years ago. I mean, people are betting such obscene amounts on racing. It's unfathomable that they're allowing these people to do this. And you're seeing the odds flashes and horses going down. And this has been happening for so long that even Dave Portnoy, Dave Portnoy's a pretty big voice from Barstool Sports. He's putting his 2 cents in, talking about computer-assisted wagering. I mean, this is a guy that's sold his company, for I think his company was bought back for $300 million from Penn National. I mean, Barstool, that's a huge name. This guy's talking horse racing. Actually, I think Portnoy's going to do his entire show from Saratoga Saturday. So there is an enormous amount of money and interest in this sport. The only problem, not the only problem, but the biggest problem is thoroughbred racing's on a really good path right now. Their trajectory is high. But the trajectory of harness racing, unless you can change it, nowhere near that. Not only is there trajectory, you could argue that the sport, even its biggest events, have gone nowhere in 40 years.
All right, Sundance says, Larry, do you remember when you would cut the hobble straps at a perfect angle so you wouldn't have to put them up through the buckle and strap? Sundance, I don't remember anything. Okay, Larry, Davy Handel was involved with a lot of bad horses that Mr. Kadish bought. And also, Larry, anything I tell you is 100% true. If I had to guess, I would say 1988. Okay, I have to believe you, PM. I have to believe you because I wasn't around from 1986 on. Only through a phone call when I called everybody and said I lost all my appeals. I lost all my court cases, and then I wind up selling house after house after house that I owned to fight for my appeal, and I wind up losing my appeal. All my appeals at 3 different states, well, including Florida too. But so, PM, I guess I believe you. I have to believe you. If you say that you wouldn't lie, and it was in 1988, 89, I hadn't seen Davy in 2-3 years at that time. And I know one thing. It's hard to get rid of the gambling habit like he had. And maybe he just got himself buried. And maybe it's true. If it's true, it's very sad because he was a good guy. Okay. Let's see. What's this say? 2 hookers went a favor. Oh, that's what I told about Davey. Okay.
Let me take this moment to talk about the Portnoy's going to the Travers, and the Travers goes for I think $1,250,000 now. Used to go for $1 million. They only got 5 horses, and the big horse is Sovereignty, who won the Kentucky Derby, who won the Belmont, and it actually looks like a really soft spot for the horse because the horse is the only one entered in the Travers that's gone a mile and a quarter. I think there's much better races races wise, on the undercard at the Travers. And at Woodbine, there's some big races. The Maple Leaf Trot eliminations are Friday with the best trotters in North America, and Saturday eliminations for the Canadian Pacing Derby, the best pacers in North America. So there's a lot of very good action up there. And there's also some big races at Scioto on Saturday night.
Okay, this guy just yelled at me. Eric just yelled at me. He says, Manny Pat, because I passed two questions. Anyway, I hope this is one of them. Manny Pascal fought to a draw at 46, one of the best fights I ever saw, and no one talked about it. Well, I didn't see it, so I can't talk about it. Maybe Michael could mention something about it.
Pacquiao's very beloved, but it took so long to get that Mayweather fight. And I think somebody touched on it, why they got sour on boxing, because boxing would not give you the fights you wanted. How long did it take to get those guys in the ring? But Pacquiao, certainly one of the greatest fighters in the last 25 years.
Okay, here's a question, another one that Eric, I guess I skipped over. Question for Michael. How did Hall of Fame jockeys not pressure Pietro Moran and let him wire the field in the King's Plate?
Some things are absolutely unexplainable. And you knew when they were putting those fractions up that horse had a huge shot. I agree with you. You would think that somebody would have came and challenged him, much earlier, but they didn't. It's inexplicable.
Eric, you're right. I said put a question, and you did put a question. I don't know how I went over you, but I'm sorry, Eric. I'll try not to do it again.
Well, it looks like Billy left us.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He was having those reverb problems.
Let's see. Larry. What's this say? Larry, the name of Mr. Katie's horse was Butler BG. Okay. I don't remember. I don't know. What's this say? Michael, do you see? Yeah, we just talked about that.
Yeah, we just talked about it, Eric. And on paper, I don't see how Sovereignty can lose. None of those horses have gone a mile and a quarter.
PM, Larry, if you are a degenerate gambler, how long does it take to bring your house down? What does that, Larry? If you are,
I have no idea.
How long does it take to bring your house down? I don't know what that means. I'm not a degenerate gambler no more. My gambling stopped in 1971. I don't gamble anymore. I don't watch sports anymore, and I hardly watch horse races anymore. I don't do that. Now I just don't do it. So I'm not a degenerate gambler, and I don't know what that means. How long does it take to bring your house down?
I don't know what it means either.
Well, maybe what it means is how long before you lose everything. It don't take very long.
Yep.
I was betting 20,000 a game during the football season with two different guys. It was always the football season that wrecked me. 15, 16 weeks, 10, 11, 12 games. Oh God, it was tough.
Also, my final horse racing note on the Kentucky Downs opens Wednesday, and Kentucky Downs has the biggest purses in the history of horse racing, and they're actually going to have a $3.5 million race, the Nashville Derby this year. The maiden races, if they're like they are last year, and I think this was in the condition book, the maiden races are going for $170,000. They open Wednesday.
Okay, here's something about me. I see my name in here. What's it say? Uh-oh. Howard Lieberman says, my dad said this guy Rolla is to be watched. He's a good horseman. My dad was friendly with Mr. Kadish. Oh, that's nice. Thank you, Howard. And then Howard says Pacquiao was a politician. And then he said, "Sorry, Larry, I wasn't referencing you. I was referencing Davy. He went from the penthouse to the outhouse." Oh, okay. All right. Well, folks, I think we answered all the questions except
Yep.
maybe 30 that Manny put up. And so I guess that's it, unless you want to talk about something else.
Support the races, everyone.
It's only been two.
I would say put the chance commercial up one more time,
Okay,
and then close the show out afterwards.
that's a great idea. And
Currently, right now, we have 6 sponsors.
that's it.
That's it.
Freddie, tell everybody how they can watch your show.
Just go to ustrots.com and you can click on that way. So, and it's actually in this video that Larry's going to show.
The Harness Racing Alumni is currently producing a tribute video to Mike LaChance. Mike LaChance is one of our sport's greatest drivers of all time, a winner of over 10,253 races, with career earnings exceeding $180 million. He is a winner of 4 Hamiltonians, 3 North America Cups, 27 Breeder Crowns, a winner of the 1987 Payson Triple Crowns, inducted into both the U.S. and Canadian Harness Racing Hall of Fames. To become a sponsor of the tribute to Mike LaChance, please visit www.ustrots.com.
Okay.
Thank you for watching, everyone.
Yep. Thank you for watching.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Good night, everybody. Freddie, I can't believe you only got 6 sponsors.
That's all we got. And well, you're still live, so you might as well turn that off.
Turn it off. End it, you mean? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll leave you on and we'll talk. All right, folks. Thanks for watching. It's been 2.5 hours of great fun. And I'll see you on Tuesday with the regular crew. And soon we'll have Billy O'Donnell back with Ronnie Pierce. And we'll have some fun. Okay. Good night, folks.
Yeah, that's all.